Top 10 record-breaking body parts. You will never guess what the number 1 body part is. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. 10 heads. The Guinness World of Records is shockingly vague about precisely whose noggin is heads and tails over the opposition. It essentially expresses that the biggest skull ever archived in clinical writing had a place with a UK man with a cranial limit of 1,980 cubic centimeters, 120 in cubed. Despite the fact that absolutely is a great deal of head space, normal human cranial limit goes from 950 to 1,800 cubic centimeters, contingent upon age and body size. The passage doesn't uncover the age of the skull, which is significant since human cerebrum sizes have been contracting since the Stone Age. Guinness specifies that the skull's measurements were ordinary, which means its exceptional size couldn't be credited to infection. This is significant, in light of the fact that few issues can prompt an unusually enormous skull. The most glaring late model is the situation of Mriti Unjay Das, who experienced an uncommon condition known as hydrocephalus. After Das head turned out to be huge to such an extent that it was viewed as the world's biggest, specialists eliminated 3.7 liters, almost a full gallon, of liquid from around his skull, diminishing his head size from 96 centimeters to 70 centimeters. Perhaps the most inconceivable aspect of the story is Das' age, appeared in these hard-to-take a gander at photos. At the hour of the medical procedure he was only 7 months old. 9 tails. Goodness. My God, Becky. It should stun totally no one that the individual with the most noticeable back on the planet lives in America, a land whose ongoing culinary commitments incorporate a seared chicken sandwich with donuts as the bun. Los Angeles lady Michelle Ruffinelli lays, and assumedly sits, case to the greatest butt in the world, a badunkadunk commendable 8.25 feet around. A smooth 5'4" inches and 420 pounds, the 39-year-old shows up in a narrative considered world's biggest hips that one would envision was shot with a wide-point camera. A joyfully hitched mother of 4, Michelle demands she is totally sound, and sees no motivation to thin down. Her couch couldn't be gone after comment. However, a challenger has risen to give Michelle a run for her uproar. A suitably named Chicago local, Sarah Massey, has made a case for Michelle's steel-fortified seat with a gigantic moneymaker estimating an informal 7 feet over. Among different ass-related achievements, Massey sports size 10 XL pants and once split a latrine bowl by sitting on it. For Michelle, Massey and other fat-base young ladies, their behemoth posteriors have never really frightened off the meat-loving menfolk. For noted derriere fan Sir Mix-a-Lot, numerous man attributes to the laureate commendable idea of my boa constrictor don't need none except if you got buns, hun. Michelle's significant other, Reggie, jokes that he has a permit to work substantial hardware. Wear a cap, old buddy. 8 arms. Okay, the reference bullet. That question signifying athletic extra unreasonably gave on Roger Maris when he broke Babe Ruth's Grand Slam record, and incredibly, reasonably connected with steroid swindles like Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds who've seen outclassed Maris' single-season mark. When your biceps estimation is all the more regularly related to a midriff estimation, doubts will proliferate. At an amazing 31 creeps around, the arms of Massachusetts man Mustafa Ismail are so fantastically cumbersome that the Guinness World of Records, after at first giving him the world's biggest differentiation, has since reneged following allegations that Ismail infused his Popeye-esque arms with synthol, a fake mass-making substance otherwise called siphon and pose. At least Ismail has an instant pornography name. To Guinness and different cynics, Ismail says kiss my reference bullet. The weightlifter says he did it au naturel by soaking up an indecent 7 pounds of protein, 9 pounds of sugars and 3 gallons of water every day. To shape his record-setting arms, he works out for 2 hours every day and lifts as much as 600 pounds. Notwithstanding being brief record holders, Ismail's arms may likewise be the last. Guinness no longer acknowledges claims for biggest upper arm periphery, expressing an excessive number of evidentiary factors exist to unquestionably announce such a benchmark. 7 penis. You'd figure Roberto Esquivel Cabrera would be a glad man. All things considered, the authentic human stand has a 19-inch penis, the world's largest. But his tremendous phallus is really a colossal issue. First of all, as per Cabrera he's practically a virgin. One lady was excessively threatened for intercourse, while a more daring soul took the ample dive quickly, just to discover it tout beaucoup. His principal vein likewise causes torment. Cabrera oftentimes gets urinary lot contamination since his pee won't make it that full distance, and he needs to wrap his wang up under his jeans to shield it from scouring crude with a braid. Indeed, he says he can't work a typical work and has gathered incapacity from the Mexican government, which clearly pays for balls however not walls. However, Cabrera's case to world's first coxman is a thorny one. New York occupant Jonah Falcon, whose part is a measly 13.5 inches, brings up that Cabrera utilized loads to misleadingly extend his prepuce. In a spectacularly named piece called Extending the Truth, specialists back up Falcon's cases. In any event, taking note of that Cabrera could have a typical sexual coexistence on the off chance that he got what assumedly would be the world's biggest circumcision. 6 testicles. Since we did the fourth right, we should do the beans. Breaking this record truly takes some gigantic balls, and Horace Oetiopios them, or possibly had them. After the Kenyan kid contracted elephantiasis in his private parts, his gonads swelled to around multiple times bigger than the normal grown-up male. His sack was the size of, well, a sack. Consolidated, Opio's twig and berries gauged in excess of 11 pounds. It turns out having such enormous balls is unpleasant. The torment got deplorable, and inevitably Opio couldn't walk or even sit. He could in any case hang out. However, Opio smelled a rat. I told my grandma that I have been contaminated by an ailment, however I don't know what it is, he said. It could be a revile. I realized this was not God's work, yet the devil's. Fortunately, Opio had the option to exorcise Satan from his shorts. Despite the fact that he couldn't pay for the frantically required medical procedure, a neighbor posted photos of his privates on Facebook, #classy, and the area lead representative's significant other, assumedly a blend of intrigued and astonished, saw them and got him to a hospital. Buried somewhere down in his scrotum, filters found that Opio's balls were totally solid, however the encompassing tissue was gravely swollen. Notwithstanding the danger of death because of blood misfortune, Opio's medical procedure was a ball-busting achievement, and he woke to locate a gigantic weight had been lifted from his shoulder. Knees. 5 breasts. Annie Hawkins Turner's cup runneth over on the grounds that her 102Z cups additionally runneth over. The Guinness record holder for biggest regular bosoms has gotten by adapting her Rocky Melons for in excess of 2 decades. Hawkins began creating bosoms at age 5, and by 9 they were a size 36D. They presently gauge a pummeling 65 pounds each and, strikingly, are as yet becoming despite the fact that she's in her mid-60s. This is owed to an uncommon condition called gigantomastia, which includes moderate, reformist development of bosom tissue. Uncertainly. At the last official estimation, her chest was 70 inches around, with an astounding 43 crawls of that being boob, for her underbosom measurement. After at first being timid about her supersized stack, Hawkins dispatched a demonstrating profession and inevitably a fruitful site where fetishists pay to look her pinnacles. Until now, she's gained well over $1 million utilizing one of the best stage names ever, Norma Stitz. Still, now and then it's mo mammary mo issues. I can just drive a 4x4 and need a bigger plane seat, Hawkins says, adding that she must be extra cautious strolling down steps. She can't rest on her back since her own boobs could pulverize her, and the mother of 2 couldn't breastfeed her kids inspired by a paranoid fear of covering them. That is a ton of squandered milk. 4 eyes. Authoritatively, eye-popping is a descriptor that signifies amazing or exciting. But maybe its definition ought to be changed to nauseating, on the grounds that Chicago inhabitant Kim Goodman can pop her eyes out almost a large portion of an inch from the remainder of her head. And it's incredibly gross. Goodman holds the record for farthest eyeball bulge, a differentiation she gained during a most upsetting straight-on rivalry. On order, she can swell the 2 eyes so distant from their attachments that they appear liable to fall on the floor. Goodman found her ability as a kid, when she was smacked over the head with a hockey cover. Like an amazed animation character, her eyes emerged from their attachments and projected from her face. From that point forward, Goodman has had the option to rehash the accomplishment at whatever point she wishes, and now and then when she doesn't, including each time she yawns. Exophthalmos, otherwise called proptosis, is the clinical term for protruding eyeballs. It can influence one or the 2 eyes and is regularly brought about by thyroid eye malady. Luckily, Goodman has not announced any such antagonistic clinical impacts of her distending peepers, other than making others queasy. 3 flesh tunnel. Since I have your consideration, get your brain out of the canal and into, or rather, through, this human pincushion of a man's earlobes. At multiple inches wide, Kaulurlo Kawi holds the Guinness World Record for biggest tissue burrow, a class left anatomically unclear should Kawi or any other individual decide to penetrate a vast, loosened-up opening in their navel, bosom or scrotum. According to Professor Victoria Pitts Taylor of the Graduate Center of the City University of New York, whose name and title simply shout out road cred, expanding substance burrows are related with nonconformity. They are, she says, a marginally more dedicated body craftsmanship than transitory practices or ear penetrating. The more you stretch the skin, the greater duty you are communicating to a nonconformist look. Counterculturally or something else, Kiwi looks straight up unnerving. His loopy projections are generally the breadth of a teacup, sufficiently wide to effectively oblige a held clench hand. A tattoo and body mod craftsman in terms of professional career, who could have imagined? Kiwi likewise parades a mixed assortment of tats and piercings and demonstration of his rational soundness, subdermal horns and a bifurcated tongue that he split himself utilizing dental floss. His noses likewise are extended and, to finish his fantasy child-in-law claim, he had fastener gaps embedded on his brow on which he screws spikes. 2 teeth. In 2018 a man came into the workplace of Dr. Max Lucas, a dental specialist in Offenbach, Germany, whining of agonizing mouth torment. X-rays demonstrated that the patient, Croatia-conceived Miho Vodopija, had an altogether rotted tooth, and a serious huge one at that, which expected to get yanked in light of the fact that it was making his upper jaw swell significantly. It wasn't until after the extraction that Dr. Lucas speculated he in a real sense had something greater on his hands. The terrible canine wasn't simply earthy colored from decay yet in addition downright colossal. With the ascent of Vodopija, he documented a report in a clinical diary and had the tooth explored by an autonomous master, which makes one wonder master in what? It assumed control longer than a year for what turned into an all-around headed-out tooth to be formally esteemed the longest ever recorded. Estimating 1.46 inches, it was only 5 millimeters longer than the past record holder, implying that Vodopija in a real sense acquired the differentiation just barely. Dr. Lucas supposedly still has the tooth, affirming both the dependable principle of first come first serve and the way that no one else might need it. 1 feet. Whoever breaks Orlando Rodriguez Hernandez's record will, by his very nature, have some large shoes to fill. The Venezuelan b-ball player sports a shocking US size 26 tennis shoe. Hernandez's feet measure almost 16 crawls in length, just somewhat bigger than those of Sultan Kusin, who at 8 feet 3 inches is the world's tallest person. In a country where discovering essential staple goods is testing, it's justifiable that Hernandez can't actually walk around to the closest shopping center and get a new pair of kicks. Actually, he'd have that issue anyplace, as his shoes are in excess of 10 full sizes bigger than the greatest most retailers convey. As a curiously large youngster in an immature country, he frequently wore shoes made of old ties and texture to stroll to class. Today, he gets his footwear from a Germany-based custom shoemaker that sees the exposure advantages of accommodating Hernandez's record-holding feet. While Hernandez is the current record holder, his feet are in no way, shape or form the biggest ever. That differentiation has a place with American-conceived Robert Wadlow, who at a transcending 8 feet 11 inches was the tallest man ever recorded, and whose 18.5-inch feet required a size 37 shoe. Shockingly, Wadlow's feet assumed a part in his initial death. What began as an unassuming rankle turned out to be unsalvageably tainted, and he kicked the bucket at age 22. Given the ailment that made him stick out, and up, from every other person, pituitary gigantism, most accept that neither Robert nor his feet were finished developing, which means his tallness probably would have obscured 9 feet.